Hey guys, this is Ryan. I just reached at around 10 months of a benzodiazepine taper hold, and for anybody that's watching or I'm doing as good as I can be. Um, the last video I made was at about 4 months, and again now on the 23rd I just reached 10. And it's one of those things where I could sit back and list my symptoms and, you know, talk about, there's that whole plethora book of symptoms that, anybody hears and they're like, I have that, which granted, yes, that's very nice for reassurance for a lot of people and what have you. I'll say some of them that, at least at this point, I'm really struggling with that tends me to hold back from doing the things that I want to do. But yeah, so at the moment, the things that hold me back from doing stuff, definitely that inner restlessness and the pacing that can pick up here and there. Again, it's gotten a lot less, but I still get pretty gnarly waves. I did actually end up finding out that there was about a month to a month and a half period where I was taking an expired, my medication was expired and I was still taking it, and that set me back a little bit. So yeah, just try to pay attention to your expiration dates. But yeah, that restlessness and, to a point where it's, there's different degrees of it, obviously, but that's been, holding me back from doing a lot of things here and there. I would say, the severe fatigue and, the head pressure, and which a lot of that has gone down, but those are things that are still holding me back from stuff. The DPDR every so often, it's, a lot of these symptoms have gone down immensely. Now, I mean, I guess it's just this natural feeling of just skin uncomfort is, I mean, that one has probably been up there on just the most consistent, just always feeling bad inside of my own body, inside of my own skin. Yeah, that one is really hard to sit with and continue to do the things that I want to do, and what have you. And it's still just that living day by day by day by day, sort of just sitting there and being like, I gotta get through today, I gotta get through the next day, I gotta get through the next day. And still have a lot of cognitive issues. There's still points where, and everything that I'm saying, it's gotten a lot better, but, piecing words together at points, and vision issues, and, yeah, a lot of those things. But I could say from now to the start, and it's really weird because anytime I get into a wave, it reminds me of how much I've healed. And I think, after a certain amount of waves happen, you realize, like, it goes away after a certain amount of time. And, like, I remember at the beginning, a wave would hit me and I'm like, oh, am I back? Am I stuck like this? And, then after, like, about a week to 3 weeks, roughly, depends, then it's like, oh, it's all done and what have you. But I could explain how it's been through this non-linear journey. I would say at the beginning, I was tapering to a point where, because I remember at the start of my taper, I felt absolutely miserable. I felt awful. I felt, and this is at the start, but I was still in bands. I still had a lot of my emotions, but granted, at the time I was just struggling with, like, severe intrusive thoughts and some head pressure here and there, and I mean, which just some of that is enough to really, really struggle. So, I started tapering and I'm finding these groups and I'm like, man, I'm not as sick as these people. Like, I just need to get off this stuff. Like, I don't, and as time went on through my taper, I started getting little symptoms that these people had. And I'm like, no, I'm good though. I'm not like that, and as time got on, from 2 milligrams to, where I stopped at 0.34, I was able to just barely keep my head above water. I mean, and my whole thing was, as long as I had my job, I'm okay. And, it got to a point, like I said, where I started getting all of these symptoms, and the last cut I made, I'm pacing frantically outside, I'm talking to myself, this feeling of dysphoria, lights were bright. It was like a mixture, and I don't like using the word akathisia lightly, because I've met people that, it's to a very, very, I don't have the prong burning in the spine or anything like that, but I do get that, at the point of time I had that, like, go, 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 and I'm like, where am I going? I don't know, just go. And your mind's going a million miles a minute. I would walk till my quads would tear. I'd be talking to myself. I would feel this insane discomfort, I would say, with my thoughts and everything, to a point where I would just, hold my head and scream, and, but so that was the last point of my taper. And now we're at 10 months. And it's kind of just, that was day one. It was just, that was my last cut. I had that realization of, this is what these people are talking about. Like, and I've already somewhat knew it, but at that point I was like, I had to take a step back, and I was like, listen, I'm losing everything. Clearly getting off of these drugs is not the way for me right now. Like, I lost all of my bands. I'm not talking to my family. I'm not hanging out with my friends. I'm not going out. I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm literally just, I have to go to work, which, granted, some people are too sick to go to work, and that's, because with that last cut, I was like, this is, like, I can't work like this. And so, granted, I do understand that I could be a hell of a lot worse. I do genuinely understand that. And, I really feel for the people that can't do a lot of these things. And, granted, just, I care for you, and just stay alive, and, you will be okay. But, so that was the last day of my cut. I'm freaking out. I'm outside. Everything felt way too much. It's kind of weird talking about it, because I kind of forgotten about how bad it was. But, so as time went on, it's like, okay, I'm being able to go out, and I have to go to work, but I got my headphones in, and I'm struggling. And so it's like, okay, I'm going outside a little bit more, and this and that. And I remember I went inside of a pool, because I haven't touched inside of a pool, and that felt weird. And, but I'm trying new things, and, I'm drawing a ton, and I was able to, like, I would start by drawing a little bit more, for like an hour, and then, but then I would have to go outside and, go on a walk, or just go, but it got to a point where it wasn't really like my thoughts were screaming at me and I'm yelling. It was just like, you have to go on a walk, and I'm like, man, this is fucking annoying, but, whatever. So, then I'd go back and, I'd draw, and, this and that, and, so I'm slowly improving. And then after, like, a couple weeks, I would have a flare-up, and, like, the outside felt too bright again, and this and that, and, I'm like, oh, I'm back in it. And then after a couple weeks, it's like, so it's up, oh, I'm back in it, this and that, and then it's like, okay, I feel like I can go back and do these things. Again, my body's telling me, like, okay, let's try these things again. So then I'm drawing more, and then instead of drawing at home, I'm trying to go to these coffee shops, and some days I could do it, some days I couldn't. But then I started playing video games again, and, I wasn't playing with my buddies or nothing like that, but, I was like, all right, well, let me just start playing games. And, I started playing games. I'd have to take breaks, go outside and walk, or, the head pressure would get so bad I would have to go and lay down. But then I was like, there was one day where I was like, okay, let me go lift weights. Let me go work out. I don't care how long, just like, because I have a local gym in my apartment complex. And, I went for like 20 minutes and I was like, oh wow, like I'm able to do push-ups. And, not in a sense I wasn't able to, but it's like the fact that like my body was like, you can do this, like comfortably. And I was like, okay. And, so again, it's that up, up, up. And then, again, after a couple weeks, right back down. And I'm like, oh shit, this and that, and then slightly back up. And, I'm playing music more, and, I'm testing the waters with a lot of things. I'm playing one of my old singer who knows, the nicest person on this planet, who knows about what I'm going through. I was just telling them like, hey, listen, I want to go, I want to play, but if something happens, like I got to get up and leave. And they're like, listen, dude, you're perfectly okay. So we go, we play, we have a great time. I got head pressure, I'm unenjoyably, drumming, but I made it through. And, as time goes on, again, it's like a little up, and I'm getting some confidence. And I'm like, okay, like, let me hit up some friends, and, like a flare-up would happen, and I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm around all these, a couple of my buddies, like, playing music, and I'm just, like, white-knuckling it. And, as that's over, I think I tried it again, like, a week or so later, and, again, sometimes it was good, sometimes it was, like, white-knuckle, I'm scared as hell, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm not ready for this. Let me just go to the studio, or, my buddy's place that I pay to just play a bunch of stuff, by myself, and let me just do that. And so that's what I started doing. And, again, it's like, I'm going, and like, sound and noise sensitivity was one of my biggest things that used to hold me back before. I mean, I would have earbuds in 24/7. I mean, the drop of a fork could send a whole chill through my body. Excuse me. And, as time has gone on, though, I'm just like, I'm going to the studio more and doing it. It's a tale as old as time in this community. You're going up and then something happens again. And it's like this huge ego death, because I'm like, I'm getting better. Like, I'm so effing close that I'm getting better, and then boom, and, that's a huge frustrating and ego death. And you're like, man. And, granted, if some people aren't, seeing any sort of improvements, you will, and I'm sure you will. And there's plenty of videos that there's people that saw none, and then they saw some, 2 months, 6 months, a year. The time frame of this is, very subjective to anybody. But, so yeah, and for some reason at about 4 to 5 months, I started jogging. I was laying down one day and something was like, okay, I feel like I have to go on. And not like a pacing, I need to move. It was just like, I feel like I can. I think there's a difference between I have to and I can, and so I went on a jog, and it was fine. It was, and I was like, holy shit, like I'm doing this. Like, it's, and so, I start running, and I'm playing, instruments, and, I'm drawing a little bit, and then, my buddies are like, yo, like, let's start gaming again, and this and that, and I'm like, okay. And it's crazy, because for the longest time, and again, throughout this whole process, it's not just like, oh, I go on a run and that's how I feel the whole day. It's like, I could wake up, go outside, I have to go on a walk, I have to pace, whatever. Then after that's done, after an hour, I gotta lay down and feel like I'm on a different planet. And then I gotta go to work and loud noises. And then for some reason, there's this hour, 2-hour period where I'm like, I feel like I can do this, and I go and do these things. So it's not this, like, for anybody thinking like I'm doing phenomenal, it's totally not like that. I mean, I still struggle with a little bit of the DPDR, and I'm looking at myself and I'm just like, I feel like that's a picture that I can just peel off. But, so again, as time has gone on, um, I remember I started dating, and I don't know, I don't know how, I don't know why. Again, it was just my body was like, I'm out, I'm working, so, and, I meet this girl, and I'm scared as hell, and all this stuff, and long story short, a friend of mine knew her, and was like, yeah, I'll set you guys up, and I'm like, please don't, because they have no idea what I'm going through, and that friend of mine doesn't either. This person's just a regular at my job, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go on a date, just to do it. I've strung enough days together where I haven't had to go on a walk, and the restlessness started dying down a bit, and so once I string a few days together, then I tend to get the confidence to go and do these things, and then I'll do them for like a week or so, and then I get kind of sunken back. But yeah, so go on this date, whatever, and start seeing her, and then I start feeling these neural emotions of, whether it's love, anxiety, sexual arousal, just so many things that I'm just like, I'm literally like sitting outside on my steps of my apartment, just like, I don't think I can handle this. Like, I can't. Like, it is like, just thoughts of, oh man, it was torture. And I cut things off with the girl because I couldn't handle it. And I remember as time went by, again, there's still that like very, very slight, ups, and then the drops, and then ups, and, she texted me again, and it's one of those things where I did like her a lot, but I was, and I couldn't help it, so I'm like, yeah, we could try to hang out again, blah, blah, and, I was scared to explain everything, but I did. Explained to her everything. She's very nice. Weirdly enough, she had a friend that went through something similar, that after about 1.5 to 2 years, she started getting her life back together. So I was like, this is weird, but I'm in, I guess. Sorry for your friend, but she's doing cool now. So, her and I have been dating since August. She is amazing and great, and, there's that happening. So I have a girlfriend now, which is insanely weird to me. But it's awesome. And yeah, so that's another big up at 10 months. I started playing a couple open mics, and again, when I say all of these things that I do, sometimes it's like my body's like, you could do it, like, just go and do it. And sometimes it's like, oh, I really don't want to, and then it's like, well, let's try anyways, and I'm like, oh god, and then I do it, and maybe I feel kind of shitty, and maybe I start feeling shitty, and then I end up feeling okay again. It varies. And some days, though, it's like, no, like, you're not doing this. Like, there's no way in hell. And so, I have counted to end the summary of this video at 10 months. And granted, when I was tapering, I was not doing any of this at all. And again, yeah, so I have gone to 20 shows. Like, I think, a bunch of them are just local bands, and I love hardcore music, so a lot of them are hardcore shows. I've played 4 or 5 open mics, and I've been playing video games, a bunch, and again, it's that thing where it's like up and up, and then down, and then up and up, and then down, and then up and up, and then down. And now when I say I'm doing all of these things, it's not in a sense of like, oh, if I do this, I can do this all the time. Like, I will have days or weeks, granted, where I'm able to do a bunch of these things, and I'm like, this is great. And most of the time I'm doing these things and I feel like ass. Like, I hope people understand that, and it's better than not, but like, I'm able to, but I don't feel good. So, I'm going, to these shows, or, you know, I'm playing these open mics, I'm feeling anxious, panicky, but I'm trying to, because I'm able to, I'm trying to do these things. And then maybe later on that night I'm freaking out and what have you. Or maybe, I mean, there's been times where I've been at a show for, you know, I'll feel fine when I get there, and then 30 minutes in I start just not feeling okay, and I could either stick it out and after about some time it'll go away, or, you know, I'm just like, screw this, I'm going home. So yeah, and through this process, if people are holding, which I mean, after me even explaining this to you, and it's so funny because even on some days I'm still like, am I healing and all this stuff, because I'll still have days or weeks even where I still feel like I'm at square one, like I'm still outside and pacing and not able to, you know, play video games or play instruments or what have you. I'm not able to do any of those things, but then I get back into it. And so it's like me explaining this, you know, you're like, yeah, you're doing a lot better. And I'm, but, you know, and when I'm doing these things, I'm like, yeah, but it's that human mind, just like, but I'm not there yet. And, you know, I feel like we're all gonna, you know, be somewhat complaining until we are at a state where we're comfortable in our own skin, because that's one of the biggest things I've been struggling with at this moment, is just I just don't feel comfortable in my body, in my skin, and, you know, just, yeah, but, so yeah, that's where I'm at 10 months. Again, I want to talk about the hardships real quick for myself, just so I can look back on how I was doing at this point in time. But yeah, just, I still have days where, you know, I just don't understand how I'm doing it. I still have days where I can't do anything, and, you know, I want to rip my skin off and I want to scream in my pillow. And, you know, because with this healing I've picked up some responsibility, you know, a girlfriend, and just me going out more. Friends are like, oh, it's good to see you, this and that, and, you know, let's hang out. And I'm like, no. Like, you know, you have a lot more, you know, spending holidays with family for the first time, you know, in like 2 years, which is ridiculous. Which was, you know, I had a good time. I was there with my symptoms and I felt like ass, but I was able to do it. But yeah, it's still very painful. It's still a day by day thing that, you know, it's like, I could wake up, feel good, play video games for 4 hours and whatever, or I could wake up, play for 7 minutes and be like, I can't do this. I still, you know, I still have just times where I just feel off, and I don't feel well, and you know, overstimulated, and everything seems too much. I mean, again, there's still a lot of pain with this, but granted, I'm doing a ton better. Things that I would like to be able to do is, I don't know, I guess just build off of more video games and music, and that's about it. And, you know, spending time with my loved ones and everything like that. It's just really hard. But yeah, I mean, there has been an increase in my life just from holding for 10 months, and it's still very painful. It's still, you know, again, 1 week I could be like, you know, I'll have a point in time where I'm like, oh my god, is it done? Like, I feel okay, you know, like, some days I've had it where I felt so normal that it's very uncomfortable and I start freaking out. But some days it's just like, I'm like, okay, is it done? Like, am I okay? And then, you know, like, a week goes by and I'm like, okay, you know, I've had some flare-ups, but I'm alright. And another week and I'm just like, I feel a little shitty, but I'm still doing the things that, still finding energy for the things I want to do. And then, you know, just to get knocked back down. I mean, it's an exhausting, grueling, I mean, it kills your motivation. And but I would say for myself personally, my gut is telling me this is the right thing to do. And I would say and again, I think the coaches are doing a phenomenal job in this community. I think the resources that you can find online are okay. But I would say there's this stigma, you know, maybe I'll make a video for that for another time, a separate thing. But I'm doing better in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, I'm hoping to just keep improving and just keep on going. That's all I can do. So take care, guys, and talk to you guys later.